Amit, is it good to go?
Wait a second, sir. Wait a second. Gaurav, sir, please go ahead. We are live now.
Good evening, everyone. Namaste, sabhi ko. And I, Gaurav Agrawal, coach of my committee and my chapter, welcome you all for this wonderful session on World Environment Day, which we are celebrating today. International days are the occasions to educate the general public on issues of concern, of mobilize political will and resources which address to the environment as such. World Environment Day is one of them. Since 1974, we are celebrating this day on 5th of June every year, and our engagements are basically the government, the business, the citizen, as an effort to address to all the environmental issues we have currently prevailing. It is the United Nations principal vehicle for encouraging awareness and action for the protection of the environment. So we all are here to celebrate this day. And what an interesting topic. I believe there's no plan it be. Nothing can be more relevant than this topic in the present context. We must act together to secure the one only planet which we have. We have to keep this planet healthy because it's our one and only home. We don't have any plan B. The time has come for us to develop new and sustainable methods and to maintain our economy while managing our resources responsibly. We have come to realization that climate change is one of the most important and influential factor, which is the need of time. So I welcome you all and let me introduce. Acha, just a minute, sorry. I got a very beautiful message from Dr. C.B. Sharma sir, and he has got a very relevant point. I'll just take 1 minute for it. My salute to Amrita Devi Vishnoi on World Environmental Day, who sacrificed her life along with her more than 363 other men and women, including her three daughters, Ashu, Datani, and Bhavnu, in 1730 at a place village Khejarli near Jodhpur in Rajasthan to save green trees being cut down. Her last words were, "A chopped head is cheaper than a chopped tree." And this couplet, "Sir saate roothe rook rahe to raaste jag," later became a rallying cry for the people of Rajasthan. She made the people of Rajasthan feel so proud, and this is the highest sacrifice she can do for the conservation of the environment. So really, we are blessed to have such a people with us. Taking it forward, let me introduce to the speakers of the evening. Can we have the next slide? Let me please help me welcome architect Dr. Acha from Bangkok, Thailand. Dr. Acha is a chairperson of architecture program and a chairperson of the building technology and innovation track at School of Architecture plus Design, King Mongkut's University of Technology, Thornbury. She has been a guest lecturer for lighting program at Wismar, Germany. She has been elected as chairperson for RKCA Committee on Green and Sustainable Architecture for the term 2019-21. She has served as a committee for Illumination Engineering Association of Thailand and Thai Green Building Institute. She is founder of lighting design and green design company Bio Architect. Her specialization is sustainable design, of course, daylighting, lighting design with interest in visual perception. I welcome you, ma'am. Our next speaker for the evening is one of my very close friend from Pakistan, architect Fawad Abbasi. Architect Fawad Suhail Abbasi is an architect partner and design lead at Suhail and Fawad Architects that was founded by his father, the eminent architect Suhail Abbasi Saab, in the year 2000. Fawad has been recognized on various forums for his design sensitivity, play of natural light, green courtyards, and ventilation. That is primary to all his work, and evident in all his projects, made by architecture, planning, or interior design. He has had the honor of representing his country on multiple professional platforms throughout the world. He has convinced various international conferences for RKC at green and sustainable architecture, social responsibility, education, and young architects since 2013. Abbas bhai, I don't think you have left any committees from RKC. You have represented almost everywhere. I welcome you all. I welcome you both on behalf of ASSOCHAM GEM Rajasthan Chapter. Next slide. Now I welcome architect Tushar Sudani. He is chairman, GEM Global Corporate and State Chapter Committee of GEM ASSOCHAM, and he is principal architect and managing director at TSDPL Jaipur. He is a known face to all of us and is a pioneer and trendsetter in modern high-rise development for not just only commercial spaces, but also several innovative residential buildings, which includes building having vertical gardens, infinity swimming pools, intermittent club spaces, etc. He is a chairman of ASSOCHAM GEM and IAE Rajasthan Chapter, and also chairman-elect from RKC Committee on Green and Sustainable Architecture, ACGSA, highlighting various vernacular sustainable and green rating practices in Indian architecture. He is also a member of Fire Safety Association of India and is a fellow member of Indian Institute of Architects. He has several green buildings to his credit as well, which are not just energy efficient, but also sustainable to the local environment also. He represents India in RKCR Green Building Committees. I welcome you, Tushar sir. And Namaskar. In fact, now I'll invite you to take this evening a step ahead. Over to you.
Thank you so very much, Gaurav, for such a nice introduction for all the panelists. So, friends, I think today is a very auspicious day for all architects who basically they are green lovers, all the green architects, I'll say. So it's a very auspicious day for us, and right from in the morning today, our entire country is celebrating World Environment Day in a different fashion. And I'll just like to give you a background. IIA Rajasthan chapter have celebrated in a different fashion. We have asked all our members to just do a plantation, maybe in their backyard, maybe in their nearby garden, maybe in their office, and just send a pic to us. So we'll give them and we'll award them with a certificate and we'll give them a nomenclature of they are the guardians of environment. I think let such more guardians of environment come to this planet. I think there is no planet B. So the very reason of selecting this topic was that it's now our tentacles are over, and it's an alarm for us that actually when we say that there is no plan it B, actually there's no plan B now. We have to live in this planet, and we have to do all the things, all the odd things which we have done, the way in which we have encroached the nature space. Now it's a high time we have to repay that back. Mother Earth has nourished us, and now it's a time that we need to nourish. So I have got very good two eminent speakers with me, Fawad from Pakistan, my close friend, Acha, whom I am interacting on day-to-day basis, since she's heading Acacia Committee for Green and Sustainable Architecture. So I thought, why not to have a discussion with these two eminent speakers. So before I just invite them for the presentation, let me just give a small background what should be our endeavors, what we are up to. Amit, have you given me the presentation rights? Is my screen visible? Okay.
Yes,
So
sir. Go ahead.
am I audible also?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Thank you, Gaurav. There is no planet B. This we have to now digest. We need to see the changes now. The changes have to come with amongst ourselves. And I was going through the Google, and a very smart video, came to my wish list, I'll just like to share this small video with you.
A simple show explains the carbon footprint. This is you. You've probably been hearing a lot about climate change and how you should reduce your carbon footprint. What is that exactly? Just like an actual footprint, it's a mark you leave upon the environment. No, not with your shoes, but with every action that releases carbon. Those are the harmful gases, such as CO2, which are pumped out by burning fossil fuels like oil and gas. The more fuel you use, the bigger your footprint will be. You may think that by driving your car, the only carbons you release come from the engine, but no. Consider the carbons that are emitted just to get fuel into the tank, from the energy needed to extract the oil from underground, the pollution caused by transportation and refinement, to the final delivery to your local petrol station. Not to mention the CO2 released by manufacturing your car in the first place. More than you thought, huh? So unless you live in a cave, you and everything you own has its own carbon footprint. Read a book, printing and distributing. It uses energy. Brush your teeth, and your utensils will have a history in a factory. Even something as basic as an apple could have traveled hundreds or even thousands of polluting miles to end up in your local supermarket. You see, it's pretty much impossible to leave no carbon footprint behind, but that's no reason to stop trying. Think about your actions and choices, and you'll be able to reduce your personal mark after all. That's how you really put the boot into climate change.
Very simple, very simple. Why not all we designers, we architects, we engineers can do this thing, and we can, encourage more and more people who should come to this kitty. It's a high time, when we are very proudly celebrating World Environment Day. I think the change needs to come at our level. It's I who can actually save this planet. I means I. I need to trust on usage of sunlight, and electricity. I need to think about planting trees. I need to think about save water. I need to remember those 3 R which we have been always talking about: recycle, reuse, and reduce. But one more R is there. You have to rethink. So you have to stress on all these things, and every little thing helps. Simple things. Say no to plastics. Run a drive for it. See all the things, avoid drinking, in the disposables, skip the bags which we get, the plastic bags, small thing. Just try to come up with a feeling that now we need to ditch the plastic. Small efforts, but going to make a big change. Protecting our climate, it always, as I told, it starts with you. More bike, drive less, educate people, be a volunteer, reduce, reuse, recycle, water, conserve water. Otherwise, one fine day again, we have to see that Cape Town video in every country. Every country in the world, if they do not conserve water, will need to come up with a video of Cape Town. We have to be sustainable, When you are doing shopping, do it wisely. Try to avoid, don't send chemicals into your waterways. Small thing. Try to plant more and more trees. Very small things. Again, I'm telling you, can make a big changes. See, indoor, outdoor. What I do when I'm doing outdoor, I reduce energy. I don't use electrical energy. These are simple slides which make you aware. See, if from a window, he's seeing what he's doing, this guy is doing outside, small things. But again, I'm telling you, makes very big impact. Less use of your own cars, avoid, traveling in a plane. I'm not telling don't do that, but less air travel, use more public transport. try to go in for carpool. In a country like India, Pakistan, and Thailand, you can always, encourage people, more and more people for carpool. People in the western side of the world has already started doing it. Why not we? Eat fresh, eat less stored food, eat local, invest less. And the best part of this, we have seen in COVID times, in the times of pandemic, when every one of us was in the lockdown condition, we have realized what is the essence of freshness, freshness of air, freshness of food, freshness of relationship. Everything, has changed, and they have taught us, that actually this is what was needed from our side as a human beings, but we encroached the space, the times which were not our. And finally, for last 20, 25, 30 years, we are talking about, climate change. That's why now it's a high time we are requesting everyone, there is no planet B. Please save it. When you go for shopping, be judicious in getting your carry bags and all, and I think carbon footprint is the one which we need to think a lot about. And we need to get mature ourselves. And we being a designer, we being the creators, need to have a lot of awareness program on these things. And I think this is the best way we can celebrate World Environment Day in the fashion, when we actually generate awareness amongst our own heart. And as it's always said, charity begins at home. So let us do it at our level, and let's celebrate this World Environment Day. So I think this was the overview of my entire theme. So, can I stop sharing? Yes. So I have kind of ignited the topic, and before me are the two fantastic speakers, whom I always love to interact on this subject. So none other than Acha, who has been a well-known figure in 21 Caucasian countries, So Dr. Acha, I really want to hear from your side. So over to you, Acha, for your presentation.
Thank you very much, Tushar. So the host, let me share my screen, please. And thank you for introduction, Tushar. It's very, very inspiring and very nice introduction. Okay, now let me share my screen. All right. Hope everyone see my screen, right?
Yes.
Very good. So thank you for the opportunity for me to join your wonderful community. I can see that there are a lot of people joining. That is a very good sign, very good success event. Okay, there is no planet B, save it. So let me see, my talk's gonna be around about environmental issues, as well as what can be done through case studies. Some is my work, and some are some good examples from our Acacia countries that I would like to pick and share what can be done. All right. Okay. So everybody's know about our environmental issues on climate change, urban heat island, our global warming effect, as well as natural disaster. So I'm not going to talk about that much, but from many researchers, I would like to share. Hang on just a second. Yeah. First, many researchers agree that the developing countries like India or Thailand or many countries that I would like to pick this, majority people talk about air pollutions, right? And that's connected to Charles' introduction, that is, from transportation or from our site project selections, If we live too far from our work, we have to drive, and that really emit a lot of CO2 in the atmosphere. So somehow we think about where we should live, and we should have less carbon footprint for transportation, as well as many of developing countries have problems with water pollution. And therefore, we need to see how are we going to design our community for sharing wastewater treatment, educate our people, as well as how do we design in the building. And then next is noise pollution. I select these three because it's more related to architectural design. How we select our construction processes, how our innovation will have less noise during at the site construction, modular system, prefabrication systems, or even how do we transport. So that is quite important, that how our actions will help to reduce environmental pollutions. Okay, so next is what we do must make our planet better. So I would like to structure from the SDG Sustainable Development Goals from UIA according to architecture, what can be done. I categorize into three important issues that I'm gonna talk today. The first one that is quite important is sustainability engagement and performance measurement. So engagement means our actions, our partnerships for goals is important. I see many participants in today, not only architects, right? They're from manufacturers, suppliers, and I think that is a good sign that we have good collaborations for future projects, all right? So what can we do? How do we have innovation for infrastructure as well as sustainable cities and community? And the second, I would like to talk about not only the bigger scales sharing things and this for partnership. So we should think about environmental quality and well-being, which I pick like the number 3, good health and well-being, clean water and sanitation, life on land, as well as life below water. Let me have my pointer. Okay. So the next is resource conservation. So not only resource mean it can include materials, it can include human resources, and how do we reduce energy consumption. So that kind of thing is directly related to our design, which is like affordable and clean energy, climate action, as well as responsible consumption and production in construction and design processes. So let's move to the next. The first is sustainability, engagement, and performance. So in more detail, so it means how are we going to design to combat climate change, design for resilience, infrastructure, and important is we should be able to evaluate post-occupancy evaluations. So by today's technology, we are able to measure or conduct survey to understand our user satisfaction and building performance. Next is for the sustainability engagement is we should promote principles of sustainability. All right, like what we do should improve our social environment and economy. So the SDG or Sustainable Development Goal have much more dimensions than 3 principles of sustainability. So in these days, we need to think about design for flexibility, adaptability for the long term. Let's give an example through my project. This is a Borkler school dormitory in the very north of Thailand, in a very, very remote area, designed by bioarchitect and the School of Architecture and Design at KMUTT in Bangkok. So this one is funded by Her Royal Highness Sirinthorn, Princess Sirinthorn, private fund for children who they live very far from schools, like 70 kilometers, 50 kilometers, and they cannot commute. If we have to get the like a service bus, it's gonna be costing a lot for gasoline and emit too much CO2. So she actually donated her own private fund to build this dormitory for the students. All right. So I am the one who helped in designing. So that we have to think about many dimensions, and we have several partners in doing the project. We have our university, we have industries from Saint-Gobain, from paint companies, from also construction companies, in order to help thinking and sponsorship for the projects. And so we also have the sustainable city and community, not only design the building, we also provide some kind of landscape as a demonstration case, so students can plant edible garden. In case of lockdown, they have no problems at all. They can stay and they can have harvesting, and not only edible gardens, but the plants that can treat the water, wastewater by bioswale, and the plant can also treat the water as the learning process as well. And so we have a collecting water collection system from the rain for them, in order that they can stay for 4 days without the water from the mountain. So and also we have a solar cell on the south for affordable clean energy, because the site is very, very remote. We have very poor quality of power on and off. Sometimes it's not enough, so we need to have a solar cell for them in order to learn. And we have a quality education, like QR code for them to learn in each of the station. We have like, okay, zero hunger for integrating the landscape. And the schools provide a place in front of the school for them to practice their marketing, and then how they sell the project, how they cut the plants from bioswale. When the plant is run off of its lifetime, they cut and try to make a weaving product to sell. And so we also have the questionnaire to ask for existing dormitory, how they prefer, how their perception on quality of life, like noise, the air, and the sleepiness, the light. And so we compare the old and the new. All right. So this kind of thing, actually, this project is located at the earthquake zone. It's not easy. And in the hill, it takes a lot of energy to transport the construction materials, and it makes traditional construction process way more expensive. So we think about prefabrication to steel construction from the downtown, and then we ship it, and very, very little transportation that can reduce the CO2 consumption, and BIM in order to reduce waste. So and also the joint, bolt and joint, instead of welding technique, in order to withstand the earthquake. And therefore this is a kind of and also architectural style in order to mimic kind of traditional and old wisdom, we utilize a very, very thin building to take ventilation as well as light to the building. And this is the way how we collect the rainwater, how we have the cross section of the hill, and we put the water and we let the water comes down through gravity. And the students can also take care of collecting the garbage from where we design the water maintenance system. So, and some of the water can be used for irrigation systems as well. So everything, also natural light, we have kind of local weaving patterns so that it shade very nice shade and shadow, so that students will learn local design patterns or weaving patterns, so they are aware of the local. So the next project is different approach through Project Edge in Bangkok. This is more private company that the owner is my friend who owns the HVAC system. Actually, the site is very narrow, and we need to have solid wall on the east and west, and then we have less window, and therefore we increase like perimeter area for the green, for biophilic design, for natural light and wind, and also view. And so in this case, we have quite a nice natural light from the side and from the top, indirect light to the atrium of the building. Okay, and so we also integrated solar cell on the top. So this is more like we engage all the users, and yeah. We also have the hybrid system. Rather than using air conditioning alone, we reduce the thermal setting to around 27 degrees Celsius instead of 25 degrees Celsius. And we use fan, all right, to make a thermal comfort. We also collect the water from condensated HVAC systems to provide a cool ambient temperature at the canteen area. So that one we have free water and cool ambient temperature. So it's more like design integration. Not only that, we integrate smart applications for health and well-being. For touchless, we use face recognition to have good health that we don't touch. We have sliding doors and comfortable atmosphere on HVAC and lighting control to its own app on the cell phone, so they can control that. It's also designed by us. The owner asked us to design the user interface, how they can vote, how they can turn on and off lighting in different zone, and many people have different preference. So we use democracy for voting system for lighting and HVAC. Now it's the learning process, and we will use AI or artificial intelligence to learn the usage patterns to see what we can do for the future. And the cell phone, we have written a kind of application that they know who you are, they know where you go. All right, so this kind of application has been written, and now it's used for our Thai COVID system. It's very proud of them. All right, and so that is, so this is a kind of how the application look like. I didn't have time to capture the user interface, meaning that we have to have different power meter and protocol in order to see the performance in different type of building performance. Then next is environmental quality and well-being, meaning we should think about how our design help for better light, view, air, and acoustics. All right, however, use less resources. Okay, So I would like to show one nice project, Columbia Boulevard wastewater treatment plant. It's not just like engineering, but it's very well integration, and it helped to serve 600,000 residents in Portland, Oregon. All right, in a way that they design different kind of studies of the shape of architecture, how it can integrate nice landscape, nice natural light, and atmosphere. So so this is a kind of nice example that I would like to show that the green facilities infrastructure doesn't have to be like a plant. It can be a park for education and for engagement. Next project that I would like to is I borrowed from JIA, Japanese Institute of Architects, Nikken Seikei company, about health and well-being on vertical, because they have quite limited land, and how green can be integrated into facade, and it received JIA award in 2017. So think about the details, how that building can reduce the ambient temperature for the neighborhood. So they have used the kind of thermal radiant camera to look at the image of the building that can reduce the temperature by 3 degrees by having full green facade. So they also have natural ventilation and evaporative cooling and direct night purge. So this is the details that they integrate chain from old wisdom, from Japanese old wisdom, into the new context, that they have provided nice shading design and slab hot and cold water pipe on the ceiling. No ceiling, because they learn from earthquake and tsunami that ceiling can kill or damage, or hurt the people when it's earthquake. It fall down to the people. So no ceiling. So they have like slab heating and cooling, right? And then they have like a plant, and then not only the nice plant, but it's more like for evacuation system as well. And they design the floor that can let the cooling system up through the carpet. All right, and the lighting system is integrated onto the slab like this,นะคะ. All right, and this is like operable windows in case of very nice ambient outside, and it cool down by evaporative cooling technique, and let the cool and moisture air coming into operative window. So this is more like a flexible design, and they have the sensor in order to operate the windows. So this is more like a new, the approach in the Japanese way. Quite interesting. And the way they do design the planning like conventional, that they put the seating next to the window, and so they don't allow majority to access. So now they design to have circulation as well as screen to the facade of the building that people can enjoy. And this is how they use like solar thermal system in order to convert the hot water through absorption chiller to make the cold water system in the summer. All right, and they can make the hot water for the heating system during the winter time. And so more like designing for different climate and usable. So this is quite a nice design example. This is quite a nice approach from Vietnamese people, that it can have a kind of local identity using material and nice natural ventilations. And okay, the last one is resource conservation. Resource, how are we going to reduce energy consumption towards zero energy building, right? We should shoot for zero energy, right? How are we going to save the energy? How are we going to save the material and resources? And how are we going to have less waste, like or minimize material, noise and water pollutions? So I give you a kind of example from Hong Kong. Zero carbon building, more like in Hong Kong style, more like modern, more on solar cell and hybrid system, as well as the natural ventilation and so on. And next is the approach to reduce the waste, and to this one they reuse material from old farmhouse to disassembly and reassembly in another site as a hotel and homestay. And so they have very low new material. They use most existing materials, and also homestay with farms and nice natural ventilation. So this is an approach into the future vernacular way. Finally, I would like to summary by saying that we should really participate and engage in most of the any sustainable activities as we can. I would like to promote this kind of event. We call it ACA 19 in Shanghai, 19 Asian Congress of Architects. All right, so it's gonna be hybrid. The website will be open for registration at the end of this month, where you guys can participate. And the theme is sharing and regeneration between 29th of October to 2nd of November. And there is also a award, but unfortunately the award has ended, but for the student, not yet. And we also have created special award for sustainability that I have just explained it. All right. And this is for a student architectural design competition, where you can go look for more information, and submission deadline is August. And thank you very much. And I would like to say that our environmental problems can be stopped by our actions, and our future is in your hands. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Acha, for this very enlightening presentation, you know.
Okay.
I think in present days time, when you really do the analysis of all the biophilic design, is something is the need of the hour. You know. So before I proceed to Fawad, I have a question for you, Acha. You know that
Okay.
UN is now making everyone so aware about the 17th SDG. You know, so like how we can promote this at a grassroots level of the countries which are at a very developing stage. You know, how do we go about it? What is your we have been hearing a lot from about the 17 SDG goals. So how to go about it? You know, just a one-liner statement.
Yeah. How to go about that, right? How do we
How to implement those?
Yeah. I think just like what your introduction at the very beginning, from ourselves, from our lifestyle, less eating from imported food, all right, eat local food, more vegetarian, low carbon footprint, more bike, I think, yeah. And then especially architects, please design something that help to reduce energy consumptions and materials, just like what I presented. Yeah.
I think that makes sense, Acha. You know, we architects have been always talking about and hearing about that many a times, less is more, Let
Yeah.
us do less, achieve more. That's very right. I think it was a very fantastic presentation. And whosoever has any question to Acha, they can put on the chat box in the question answer slot. So now over to you, Fawad, since your climate zones matches with ours, so I think you must be facing the same problem, and your address to those problems must be the same. So people are very desperate to hear from your presentation. So Fawad, over to you.
Thank you very much, Tushar. It's always been a pleasure. Am I allowed to share the screen now?
Yes. Make it full screen.
Okay. So, thank you very much. First of all, like you just introduced me, I must say that I've made some amazing friends from India in the last couple of years, and both you and Gaurav take the cake as always, and of course, many other lovely friends. And Gayan, I miss at times when the two of you are there being naughty and all, but it's amazing to see how professional you all are and how you take one part of your life, and which is completely simple like ours is, and being part of a subcontinent which has still suffering from, of course, COVID-19, but a huge population that we cater to in both nations. And of course, where Acha comes from, Thailand, where we all have been have been going and visiting. And of course, they've taken the challenges to the next level, and they've tried to sort of solve them in their own ways. But in India, Pakistan, we've got our own challenges that we face. And of course, this particular topic is very, very pertinent to today's age. And we all feel that we have to tackle it in the best possible manner. And I think your presentation, Tushar, earlier gave quite an overview of the really extreme climate changes. And of course, some countries not believing in them is also a check for us that known it is a real fact. And living in Islamabad, Pakistan, which is the capital city, at times when we're checking our climate, we realize there's no rain, and in the evening it's like a huge thunderstorm outside our house. So it's completely something that we're facing on a daily basis. And I think this important topic on the World Environment Day will give us a kind of a basic summary of what can be done. I, of course, like Acha talked about her views on the very important element of energy efficiency and green architecture, and being the chair of the ACGSA with you as a chairman-elect for the next term at ACASIA. I think you've already seen and heard from other 20 nations who've told you what they're facing. And every time, every presentations that I see by ACGSA, and now with the ASSOCHAM GEM, where you're chairing the chapter, is very, very crucial to our environment. Well, coming back to my own practice, this man who's my father is a very crucial member of the organization that really feels that we have to face every day as it comes along. And in his practice for over 50 years, which I have been able to take forward with him every day, we feel that, and being regionalist by heart at heart, there is absolutely no way that we feel that local materials in the country cannot be used, and can be used very, very nicely. So I feel that it is extremely important now than ever that we look at it, and every day at the office, at the studio, we get together, our team gets together, and we talk about what can be done to improve ourselves and the environment around us. So the context of where we work is extremely important to us. So as we enter the year 2021, two things hold much prominence world over regarding two C's, as I would say, COVID-19 and climate change. I'm certainly not very sure how architects are suffering. We all have suffered in a major way in the last pre-COVID and now post-COVID, and being able to go back to our roots to how we want to design and make things better. Yes, of course, our businesses have suffered, but that's honestly not something that is very important with what's happening around the world, and massively suffering. But which that includes in climate change, the gross turnover of loss and redemption is being felt on a huge scale. Let me start by giving you a mellow example of the sandstorm that struck Karachi, Pakistan last couple of weeks that we had it. And one of the tallest buildings in Pakistan, the UBL Tower, felt like it was some kind of a cardboard game. That was gigantic impact of climate change that was witnessed by Karachiites. We have also experienced many expected hailstorms, thunderstorms, and rain around the country with weather changes across the world. Way back in 1969, our commitment on how we go about doing all our projects, there is definitely falls a major loophole that strikes that a green and friendly environment is mostly needed to sharpen the scale of creativity at our level. For as we all know that there is no planet B, please save it. I think that's exactly why I think this is important topic. We keep coming back to it, and it scares us many a times that because of the high seismic zone that we work in, where I practice, we are in a high seismic zone, which in our language is given it a 4. And we saw a huge earthquake in Islamabad about 16 years ago, where a modern building, which we thought was extremely well designed, came down. One of the towers came down. So there's absolutely no way to stop yourselves. So I mean, we learned from these experiences, and so climate change, which is happening way faster than we ever expected, requires modification on our part. With all of its claws out, it might just eat us up alive, which is how we see it now. And certainly we will never know. So be aware of your surroundings and be modest in our living. I think because we really talk about this, and now we've got things like the ASSOCHAM and many other organizations that are constantly alerting us on what's happening around the world. I think it's extremely important to not forget about our roots and where we come from. If you look at the historical perspective of the buildings that came up many years ago, how people used to live, we have realized that Earth is the only planet that life exists on. Sadly, as humans are sabotaging the one place that has saved us, there are climate change problems arising, a hole in the ozone layer, global warming, and various other problems affecting our Earth. We now have to make a stand for it. There are some things that we can change in our daily lives, and I think that's already talked about by you, Tushar, and of course, Acha, of what things we need to change. And I think that's COVID has really taught us, like Acha said, and even you did, that we need to really change our lives in a way that we need to start eating our own sort of foods and the crops that we own. And I think even in my house, which we have a very small thing, but we have a small garden now, we try and walk a lot. We try and go out cycling. And we really have, like you said, stop flying, which unfortunately hasn't been happening, but we've been going around and exploring our own country. We've been walking a lot. We've been going outdoors, and in this lockdown has taught us that we can still survive if we really worked towards it. And I think I'll go to my own presentation talking about how our office tackles each and every project. And so I'll just show you one of the projects that won us an award a couple of years ago. The building is the Polo Complex of Islamabad, and we designed the master plan of the building. Even in this building, we were able to, and we've been able to, from the day we started working for these clients, talked about the fact that local materials, of which brick is our favorite, to how to use and save and make it part of our design. So this building, which still stands firmly, was done in the local brick. And the high tower that you see is the overhead water tank with the riding manager's office below it and the dining facility. We've been able to really work around materials that we feel that will last more long. They don't need paint. They don't need to be looked after as much compared to other buildings that are plastered with other materials that are not very contextual, but then they're still being used. Of course, this is meant for horses. It's meant for people who use these facilities. Again, the stables and the corrals and the groomers' dormitory buildings, they're all very localized. The materials are very localized. The courtyard buildings that we're really fortunate to do for all our clients, they listen to us. But we are fortunate. Many times the clients don't understand that the plot site area is less, so they want to build all over it. But we've been able to explain to them that the way you use your buildings, the way you design them, make a major impact in your lives. And in our case, we've been able to, and we still do. We sit them down. We explained the pros and cons of how and the climate change that are hitting the world in a big way. And we've been able to bring buildings in our area in our region as local as we can. So cross ventilation, natural light, wind circulation has been crucial to our design process. And our work is highly inspired by nature. The outcome of our building design, dialogue between water and landscape, factors reveal themselves as crucial during realization of any concept. Starting from initial idea to analysis of the requirements to establishing the basis of design that will be elaborated during the process. Everything is connected to the other. Like I said, it's how the world is progressing, where we're going. Therefore, we've been able to educate our clients, our end users in the process, and been able to tell them what can be done better. So this particular project is very close to my heart because it's one of our recent works, recent corporate social responsibility projects that we've done in Islamabad. This is the new retail outlet for one of the largest NGOs in Pakistan. It's called Behbood Association of Pakistan. And we've been involved with them for many years, designing, supervising, and even kind of helping sponsor them many buildings and facilities that they use. So they're about women empowerment, they're about education in the country. They have got schools around the country, they've got a lot of people that work for them, and they're into local crafts. So we've been able to design spaces for them, restore places for them, and use the local materials as best as we can. And this brick facade is part of the project that was done a couple of weeks ago in one of the really modest villages, part of the urban sector of Islamabad, a very expensive area. But across that is a really cute village that we grew up around. And we were able to design this recent building, which is an identity of the organization also, but it tells about how local materials and crafts can be really brought together. And the office does realize that every time we do a project for them. So we work for them in Karachi, we work for them in Islamabad and Rawalpindi, which are the twin cities of the country. Similarly, the courtyard of that building, I mean, we really try and bring back the crafts, the local mirror, the glasswork, the door itself, and how we try and bring together the brick fenestration that we work with a lot. Again, it's an extremely inexpensive way to do it, but then it's a longer lasting. It's celebrated every time that we do it. So the courtyard brings back these places where you get together, a social gathering, because even in Pakistan now we're completely doing outdoor dining areas. Everything is closed down for lockdowns or soft lockdowns. So these outdoor spaces are extremely important to the design, and I think we've been able to really celebrate these spaces. A design isn't finished until someone is using it. I think it's a very important quote, and this is one of our projects that is under construction. Again, the use of the local stone in that area, we're using that, and we're using the fair face plaster, which is again a very permanent material. It needs no introduction, and I think many countries around the world are doing it. So we've tried to bring landscape, sort of really fuse the local stone, the local materials, and really celebrate them each and every project. Again, one of our projects, which is additional design, we've been able to bring landscape and the material of brick and how the local brickwork can be really looked at when we designing a facility. Again, the use of the terraces, the balconies, and the outdoor views, the vista that can be created as you enter into a building. So I think it's very important to the design that we do in our office. Of course, like we say, the outdoor courtyard spaces, the water walls, the water feature, the landscape are really, really important to our office's design. And I think we once again have been able to really stress on the fact that there should be more outdoor spaces and smaller footprints. And rather than, so even if we're doing a large farmhouse, for instance, we've been able to work on solar panel design as part of our design philosophy and bring in a lot of double glazing windows, of course, roof gardens, and then, of course, windows that open out to green spaces with some photo features or plantation. That is, again, something that we've been able to focus and been able to sell to our clients. How each window opens out to an arched beamed area or into a terrace or a balcony, and then sort of fusing or complementing them with another material if we're not using completely brick in the spaces. We start with analysis of room layouts, circulation routes to formulate a design after resolving these multiple functions mentioned in the client's brief. We work with a solid geometric module scaled to a particular size to create various interior spaces. We emphasize on the hybridity of the larger forms and spaces to reach the final design. So like I said, it's something that has been practiced in my office by my father for many, many years. And every day that we sit with him and we discuss design, we go back to the same roots, we go back to the same things that he has learned through in his experience. And every day that we celebrate our designs and architecture, we make sure that these elements and these really important part of local regional architecture are mentioned in our design. Again, like I said, farmhouses. If we're doing farmhouses, we try and use the local brick again, and then we complement them and make a landscape. So it's more like an indoor-outdoor. So even if you're sitting inside a building, you're still outdoors really. And then most areas can really slip out into a formal or informal green space. And then again, the use of the brick with a green out courtyard space or an arch space is crucial to everything that we do. The outdoor courtyard, the emphasis on the brick jali, and how the wind flows and wind circulations are brought in. So every day we look at climate change as one of our main cores of design and look at how we can really, really celebrate the outdoor landscape areas whenever we can and however we can. Bringing light to skylights with the local colored Jirokas and make sure that there is ample light in the house, in the project, as long as it is till nighttime. The courtyards that you can walk out to a water body or water feature, to sit in a space, that is something that we feel that has to be part of every project, every design that's handled around the world, rather than do these alien buildings that are really that have a very short-term life, and we bring back these elements to our design every time. We always work with multiplicity of ideas, various proposals, all containing considerable potential and originality. In order to really make choices, we make decisions and consensus with the owners, even though ultimately the thing that matters most is the end of the first idea, the vision which we all agreed on, hence the product becomes a win-win for all of us. So we never say that this is our project. We always really bring our clients together and make them understand why this is important, why this huge hue and cry about climate change is really real, and why this is important to save, to spend money on things that will improve the quality of their living, improve the quality of their project. Like I said, insulating the walls properly, bringing in double glazed windows, bringing in larger green spaces in terms of multiple courtyards or a small garden everywhere that's possible, and rather sort of decrease the footprint of the build structure and then do buildings that are more contextual. Another project that will give you an idea of how we bring light through what the lovely color that brings through the skylights if we design them properly. This picture is taken at a time when you can see how much light there is, but again, it's indirect light. It's not a hindrance to your design process. It's not a hindrance to living and being really uncomfortable. The courtyard, I mean, one of our projects that shows you how these multiple courtyards have worked for us. And the whole house, if you have younger children or even elder, if the children are playing in this central courtyard, they're visible from everywhere around the house. So you're kind of, the security point of view comes in through, but then of course, natural ventilation, natural light, and of course, lots of green spaces. They really improve and bring in the indigenous plants that we work with a lot. So we're really working with the urban environment at times and trying to make sure that we work with indigenous plants as we go along. The brick jali, I mean, the brick jali, of course, it brings in privacy because in Pakistan, of course, there is a major problem of, or I would say a part of a culture that talks about privacy. So you are sitting in a courtyard that is primarily yours, but then it brings in light and brings in cross ventilation, but then it gives you that security, that privacy that you always require. The concept is always simple, straightforward, and we focus on the transition between the indoor and to the outdoor, creating multiple introverted landscapes. So now, I mean, landscape and places that an architect builds or something that they're adopting is also very, very important. So, I mean, that is how these spaces, these light scoops or these wind tunnels, they're all part of everything that we do at the office. the multiple use of color, which is, I think, very close to our heart. We try and this process evolves every time that we do a project. So everything is learning for us. So I think the way we bring in light, the natural landscape becomes even more pertinent, more important to our design process. Again, I mean, really experimenting with how brick can be used for a permanency, for a way that it can be really looked into as a material that is made from the local materials. It's part of the earth. It's part of the local clay that you work with. So I think it's really helped us grow as architects. And every time that I see work in Thailand or even in India, in many other countries that I've been able to visit, I realize that this is coming back. We are kind of putting away these alien structures and coming back to our roots once and for all. In our projects, courtyards act as breathing spaces, and themes are explored by using three principles of architecture: function, stability, and beauty. The process is to experiment with transparent partitioning and definition of space using a variety of points, lines, and surfaces. This helps clearly define the relation between interior and exterior enclosures designed to intensify wind flow and natural light. So again, where does the project open? Why does the house open up? We need to really bring in that view that we luckily get in Islamabad. And if you don't, then you create your own introverted green spaces. So the left slide tells you of a house that I did, which luckily got a beautiful garden, a park behind it. So I made sure that of course, it had an introverted green space courtyard as well, but then it opened out to the back. In the right slide, we designing in Karachi was kindly difficult because it's called the 5 courtyard house. So we were able to sort of design 5 courtyards in various areas, and they all open into various spaces, maybe the living room, the balcony, the bedroom, but then it was a very intimate space. So it's how the architect approaches it by bringing in these natural lights through various spaces. We also believe that experiential architecture can influence people's behavior and ultimately their lives. And I think it is something that each and every architect in the world can say yes to, because I think everything that we do makes a change in the people that use it. And sometimes when we don't charge for a project, we feel that we don't need to give it the same kind of importance. But then I think every project needs the same importance, even if you're not doing that. So the use of color, the use of where you're using that color is also very crucial. And I think it sort of makes you wonder how people tend to use it. I was a big fan of work of Ricardo Legarreta and Victor Legarreta, the famous Mexican architects. And I think the way they use color gave me that opportunity to see, being an architect from Islamabad, how we can use it. And I was able to pursue my clients to really play with color and not be scared of it. This project also will tell you, it gives you that with the way I approach the design and how each element, brick or the other elements that we work with, we've been able to transform the local artisans and stay and work with them and really enjoy what we do. So this gives you an idea of the kind of detail we go into to make sure that, of course, there's a volumetric study of each project, but then there's ample light and circulation. The arch, which is really important, how it's built, how it stands on its own structure without really having any steel in it, is what we really work with as well. We focus primarily on the relationship between indoor and outdoor spaces and human occupants, ensuring that even sitting out inside, you're almost outside. Keep the privacy intact, brick jalis and cues that create microenvironments while bringing a formal closure to various spaces within the building vocabulary. One of our projects, again, like I said, the brick jali has been transformed. It's been done for many, many years by some of the most phenomenal architects. But we look at it as well in our own fashion, the way we approach our buildings, how this privacy element or how the light changes every hour and what it really leaves behind. So again, like I said, these microenvironments, these climate changes, and what we've learned as architects really play a vital role in our design process. Again, the landscape, how the project opens out into a landscape and how these shadows casted or areas that you sit around can play a pivotal role in your lives. The use of the entry courtyard, the use of the brick, they are all and every element that we work with in our office plays tribute to and really playing with the form. It is like putting together pieces of Lego and then juxtaposing them, but leaving multiple vacuums as breathing corridors, like subtracting from a series of blocks. This leads to private, secure, and unobstructed views from every room. It also helps achieve good airflow systems due to self-created voids as natural transition. Again, the courtyard, I mean, it's something that's so beautiful, but how and where it sits is where the architects come from. The big jali, the entrance foyer, the skylight, everything has a meaning to what we do as architects. The life of designer is a life of fight against the ugliness. One of our recent projects that we're working on, it's a large mixed-use building. My concept was to really open up the building internally with these green spaces, and we've been able to do it. And hopefully in the next few years, I'll be able to share the actual project with you. But for now, I feel that one more view is that architecture has a subtle but huge influence on the community. You may not live in that building, but as you pass it, you will eventually be affected by its presence, which influences you regardless of whatever or not you're aware of it. So use of the contextual materials, how we approach our buildings every single day is what brings us to where we are today. And climate change, for me and for our office, has always been crucial to what we do. The site in brief defines and breaks the building into private, semi-private, and formal spaces. And now, I mean, as I end my presentation, I think I would think that each and every space that we design every day should matter. And I think post-COVID has taught us that these designs will always leave an impact or leave a line where you need to really put your brakes in some time and feel what is really needed and what is not. And with our work that we do every day and with our design that we follow every day, we've been able to hopefully leave an impact on people, and we hope to learn from each and everything that we do. And we are really proud of being part of a community of architects that is really concerned about this new era and the climate change that's affecting our lives. And I hope everyone keeps safe, happy, and healthy. So thank you very much, all of you. And I hope we've been able to put together something that leaves everyone with a thought. And I'm grateful to Tushar and Gaurav for this opportunity.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Fawad, for such a nice and interesting presentation. You took us to Pakistan without visa, so you solved the visa problem. And that's kind of people from both the side across the border, always wish to come to each other's domain, but
We will, Tushar, very soon we will.
Hopefully.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. So thank you, Fawad, because people are very excited to see what is happening in Pakistan. So I understand that since we hails from the same culture, kind of same our architecture was same. If you talk about ages, So when you design any build form, what is the impact of regional wisdom or vernacular wisdom in your mind?
Like Tushar, like I said, I've been lucky, and I think lucky in a way because I had a teacher who was fortunately my father. I mean, who already talked about contextual design, talked about because in schools we sadly do not teach buildability. We always talk about theory part, and we talk about how a 2D plan will be, but not how it be transformed into a 3D design. So in our work, in our office, he has set standards. He teaches every day, and even the recent work that we're doing, we may be larger buildings or houses, one unit single family residence units. We make sure that we educate our clients in the process. It's fortunately not very tough because they understand. Because people who come to us do understand that they should rather spend less money on things that are very cosmetic, but spend more money on comfort, which means good insulated buildings. And I think this transition and this, luckily, these two that I come from, being the legacy that I carry, they have a senior level person sitting there many a time for a meeting, and then myself with about 20 years of experience, and we together make them realize whoever comes in without any knowledge, and we've been able to sell our ideas and tell our concerns. So it's been grateful, very well. They've been able to take it.
Okay, Fawad. Thank you. Thank you very much. I think we're already short of time and we've got a lot of questions, but I would give the email ID of Fawad and Acha. So whosoever wish to have their questions will take the liberty, they will contact you, and we'd like to have a presentation that can be shared to everyone. So thank you from my side, Acha and Fawad, for being here. Over to you, Gaurav, for the final presentation.
Thank you, Tushar. And I think, Amitji, you can put up an email ID of ASSOCHAM in the chat box so that people can put up their questions or queries, and then we can streamline that to either Acha or Fawad as well. Polls. Fawad bhai, I have just a very small question for you.
Gigi.
You have shown those brick jalis. It was definitely, miraculous. The kind of light and shade effect it was having. But when it comes to a client's wife, how you go to convey how you are going to maintain that kind of a jali?
We actually first convince the client's wife before we convince him. No, Gaurav, luckily we've been people who come to us, most of them say, okay, listen, are you doing only brick architecture? Brick, you still use brick in any ways. I mean, you either celebrate it or you hide it. So it's up to you. So I think people who come to our office who want something designed would come with something that they've already seen, or they've seen it on social media, or they've seen our work. So I think it's much easier to convince them now than it was earlier. And because now people have spent a year on COVID, they realize it's all about outdoors and about indoors. So I think they realize that the green spaces are really, really important.
Very true, very true. Okay, so that comes to the end of the session. I would personally like to thank both the speakers for the evening, for making this evening a wonderful time to interact. And you have enlightened us with your knowledge and your wisdom. Thank you so much. Amitji, can we have the slide, please? That's what best we can do in these times. A kind of an e-gratitude. Thank you so much, Dr. Acha.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, welcome. Yeah, I'm pleased. Yeah, I'm
and share this e-gratitude on the mail ID of Acha, Gaurav.
Yeah, perfect.
Acha, it was an honor. I would thank Acha for, it's an honor to sort of share the stage with you. What a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Yeah, my pleasure. Yeah, I'm very happy to be here. Thank you, Tushar. Thank you, everyone, to help organize.
Thank you. Yeah, and thank you, Amit Fawad bhai. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.
The chairman will take care of sending these e-gratitudes to you.
And can we have regards to Sohail Saab,
I will.
Mentor, we have seen him in Arkesh a lot of times. Always, he's been mentor to all of us.
I mean, it's always fun to be with you guys. Being with Pakistani friends is always a fun time at Arkesh time.
We'll do the Bhangra very soon.
And I remember people in Tokyo were really surprised to see, oh, aap Hindustani ho, ye Pakistani hai. Friends, you are sitting on the same table, you are having dinner together.
Yeah. Superb. Very soon.
And thank you, Chairman, ASSOCHAM GEM, Tushar Sobani, for having a wonderful time with these two speakers. Last but not the least, I am thankful to each and every member from ASSOCHAM GEM. Thank you so much from the bottom of the heart. Amitji, who's taking care backstage, Neerajji, and everyone.
I think you should just take one or two pictures with us, all of us right now, and share it on Arcasia.
Yes.
I have taken, and I'll share that in Arcasia group.
Superb.
Yeah, so we can have a smile, please.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Acha. Thank you.
Have a good evening.
Thank you. Good to see
So
you.
I'll just wrap up this evening, putting up a mantra. And we always use this mantra when we perform a yajna or a havan, and we say that Om Dev Shanti Antarishagam, Shanti Prithvi, Shanti Rapaha, Shanti Roshadaya, Shanti Vanaspataya, Shanti Vishvedeva, Shanti Brahma, Shanti Sarvatvam, Shanti Shanti Rev, Shanti Sama, Shanti Redi, Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So this all says peace in universe, peace on earth, peace on land, peace on medicinal plants, trees, shrubs, peace in water, peace in mountain, peace everywhere. That means peace entire world. So that is
Amen.
what, just to end up, just to summarize for this World Environment Day.
Lovely
Thank
prayer.
you.
Lovely prayer.
Thank
Thanks very much.
Thank
Take
you
care.
very much.
Thank you,
Bye.
everyone. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Hafiz.
Bye.
The office.
The office.